Okay, going to get started here with our opponent this week, Brigham Young. I think the main thing that I think everybody needs to understand is don't look at their win-loss record. Look at their history, their tradition, who they've played this year, and how competitive their overall program has been for decades. They just unbelievable tradition and history when it comes to playing really good football, and this team's no different. They could very easily be 3-0. They got tremendous football players. They're big. They're physical. They're fast. They're very passionate about playing the game of football. They're well coached. We know exactly what we're going to get on Saturday from this outfit. They got national appeal. No secret that they're trying to get into the Big 12, which is probably going to give them a little extra motivation to be able to play this game. All of which says that we better get ourselves ready to play, and I know we will. We've had one good week of work last week. Took a couple of days off. Hit the road recruiting, and then we're back at it here this afternoon. Already pretty prepared to play this game, but we'll get back out there, work on some things Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, travel over to D.C. on Friday. These neutral site games are always very important for us. They're important for our fan base. We've played them before, and we're going to continue to play them again. You guys know what the schedule is. I'm a big fan of them, and I know our fan base is a big fan as well, and will show up and support us as much as they can. Kalani Satake is their head coach. Has been around the BYU program for a long time. Been up the road at Utah and Oregon State as the defensive coordinator for quite some time, but is back in I probably would think is his comfort zone. Is a really good defensive football coach, and BYU is playing really good defense. You very easily could be 3-0 based on how their defense is playing. I mean, they're only giving up, I think, 14 points a game over the first 3 games against 3 high-powered quality opponents that are Pac-12 schools that are used to scoring points. I don't think I can assure you we're not underestimating these guys whatsoever. They're going to be incredibly challenging to prepare for. Defensively, they're always in the right spots. They play with great effort. They get to the ball. They're violent when they get there with great effort and great physicality. Is going to be a challenge. Pretty offensively. Everybody wants to say what's wrong with them. A lot of it has to do with, they've came close to winning three games, and offensively usually takes a little bit longer to get together with a new staff than it does defensively. So Ty Detmer's there. He's accustomed to what BYU's done for years and years. Back in the days of when I was watching BYU with Jim McMahon and Steve Young and Robbie Bosco and all those guys, Ty Detmer was the next in line, and knows what he's doing and knows what they need to do in order to score points in order to get better. They're led by their quarterback. A lot's been said of him this week. Taysom Hill seems like he's been there for a decade. Has played a lot of snaps, is experienced, has had some unfortunate injuries come his way, but he's battling through them and has battled through them to the point to where, he's their guy. I know, is there going to be a quarterback change? They say that because his backup won him a bunch of games last year, and the guy's a really good football player. The Mangum guy's a little bit different. He's a little bit more of a thrower, but I think they got their guy. We'll be prepared for either one of them. Do a good job of taking care of the ball. I think they want to grind out some clock and all that stuff, maybe to help their defense, not quite sure. But they're big up front. They got 2 big backs that are capable of carrying the load. And, the receivers are probably the biggest set of receivers that we'll face all year. So it's going to be a challenge for us. We know that. It's going to be a fun weekend. excited about getting over to D.C. and playing a team that's on the national stage, and rightfully so. It is a national program based on their tradition, based on their past, and based on their accomplishments. So with that, take some questions.
You talked about the fourth wide receiver, Gary Jennings. Where does he fit in the picture there, and what does he have to do to kind of get more playing time?
Well, Gary's doing a good job. He's our main return guy. He's our main special teams guy when it comes to those receivers. Is physical. He's been battling a bunch of injuries probably more than anything throughout camp. So it's tough to be one of those four guys when you're only out there 25% of the time. So he feels good. He looks good. He's taking a bunch of reps. Some of that is going to fall on his shoulders. I played him an inside receiver, during the spring some, and during the summer we just made the decision because we knew what DeKeel could do to keep Gary on the outside just based on we need outside guys. We don't have a ton of bodies on the outside. So he's behind Shelton, who's playing well. That's not Gary's fault, but if he wants in that rotation and he wants more balls and more opportunities, then he needs to do it in practice.
What stands out to you about the BYU defense?
Big, physical, play with great effort, passionate, get there, try to hurt you. I mean, they do a lot of good sound, well coached, always in position. Means a lot to them, you can tell.
When you play a team for the first time, do they completely go off script of what they've done in past games when they face you, or are they what they are by this point in time?
Well, I don't really know what they are because they've been different every game. They were, I think, trying to find their identity game one against Arizona. I'm talking their defensive side, okay, because I've obviously studied their defense a lot more than I have their offense. Against Utah, they did some funky stuff. A lot of stand-up guys move around, a lot of different positions. That they probably did that based on the relationship that they have with Utah, and there isn't two teams that know each other better than those two staffs and those two teams, those two players. Settled in more against UCLA and stopped a pretty good UCLA team. That quarterback Rosen's obviously pretty good, and UCLA's pretty good, and they stopped them. So all we got is what we watched all this stuff from Oregon State last year, and there's some differences in what he's doing this year and last year. All we got is what we can show our kids is the videos that we've seen. So we'll prepare for all of that, and we'll see what their plan's going to be.
Those three teams, does that translate to what you do? Arizona, Utah, UCLA, offensively?
What we do?
Yeah, what you're seeing there. Is there anything that translates to what you do?
Yeah, there is. Pat, I would 3-4 years ago, there was a lot of differences in the Pac-12 and everybody else. The Pac-12 there's a lot of similarities in what we do and what the Pac-12 does now. Looked at what Arizona's doing. There's what Rich is doing there. There's a lot of stuff that we do, and what Utah does. There's a lot of stuff with what we do. So a lot of carryover. UCLA's changed. I mean, last year UCLA with Mazzoni there was almost identical to what we do. And they've went 100% pro style, so they're a little bit different with that group.
Leading tackler at number 38 at the 19 stops against UCLA. He's a sophomore. He's coming off a 2-year mission. He hasn't played in a couple of years. I mean, this is a challenge teams face playing BYU, older guys like that. What is the challenge like for you?
It doesn't look like the mission slowed him down at all. I mean, if anything, it sped him up. I mean, that guy's all over the place. It's hard to block. When you get on him, he gets off blocks. He gets there. He's a sure tackler. He's pretty good. They got a couple of seniors, older guys that you could have watched last year a little bit, but this guy's changing them a little bit. So he's a good player. you know, there's guessing games earlier in the year when you really don't know what those teams are going to be, whether there's coaching changes, whether there's not coaching changes, whether guys go on missions, whether they don't. Obviously, I think BYU's got a pretty good feel for how how and when those guys go on missions, and if they feel like they're ready to go once they get back. They probably got that under control based on that's just what they do.
Based on that, though, Dana, with their age, some of their positions, just older guys, strong guys, what type of variable do you expect that to be?
Challenging. It'll be challenging. I mean, you can see. I don't care what their age is or what their size is. I mean, you can see on video what they are and who they are. And what they are is they're big and they're physical and they're passionate and they get there and they fight and they I mean they struggle and they get the job done, you know. So it's a different type of challenge based on the size, but you know, I think we got some advantages on our side as well, you know, with some continuity and with experienced guys and with speed and quickness and tempo and a lot of that stuff that I think we can use to our advantage as well. And they know that based on the fact that they got video just like we do.
Coach, it's one thing to prepare for a team that, you know, maybe has, you know, that superstar established quarterback, and, you know, that's certainly difficult enough. How much different is it, you know, when you're going up against a team that maybe, you know, might play two guys or you know, maybe play one guy one half, one guy another half, or, you know, more frustrating, more difficult to deal with, or?
Yeah, I mean, they've got two guys that are proven, that are experienced, that are incredibly capable of being able to do what they're asking them to do. I mean, those guys have played a bunch, they've won a bunch, they've been around a bunch. They're being coached by a guy that's been in their shoes before. We have a pretty good idea what to expect. And again, you know, what are they going to do different? I mean, we got a lot of video based on what they've done the last 3 games and what these two kids have done over the last couple of years as well. So we're going to know who our opponent is and what we feel like we need to do to be successful.
Dana, you've got the expansion question numerous times. Other coaches have too. How much input, 0 to 100, because football drives this thing, you get right into it, how much input do the coaches have with the 80s and the presidents? 0 to 100?
Coach is 0. They don't listen to us. Kidding me? You know, I mean, Commissioner Bowlesby's been he's told all the coaches, I mean, if you want to voice your opinion, voice your opinion. I mean, it's just your opinion. We're not going to listen to you anyway. But you know, the ADs obviously influence the presidents influence the commissioner, the TV people probably have something to do with it as well. So, I mean, my job's to get us ready to play a good BYU team and worry about our team. You know, what they're doing, I couldn't tell you. What they're thinking, I for sure couldn't tell you.
Recruiting-wise, obviously, that D.C. area, D.C. Baltimore, has been important to you guys. What can you do? Can you invite kids to this neutral site game? How do you handle
We can actually give them tickets, but we can't talk to them. So, you know, they you know, we've got requested for some people to want to come. We're the home team, so that we can come to the game, but we can't talk to them. We can't wave at them. We can't give them a lunch or there's nothing we can do. So if they want to come watch the game, then great, come watch the game. We got a limited amount of tickets that we can give out, and if they want to come watch a good college football game, then they can. I think it's way more. I think the recruiting aspect of that is way overrated. I think the excitement for the teams is good. It's a bowl game feel most of the time. It's just something different. You know, playing in an NFL stadium is neat to our players. You know, we're going to be back there next year playing the Hokies. You know, so that'll be good. Probably the biggest advantage is just from a fan base perspective. And I've talked a lot about this with our non-conference games being geographically, you know, beneficial to our fan base. And I think this is one of those examples. You know, we got a lot of WVU grads on that, obviously over in DC. You've got a huge alumni chapter over there. I think it's a great opportunity to be able to, thank those people, to be able to say thanks for everything you do, and here, come watch a game in your backyard. So I think we'll have a great crowd. It's obviously obtainable to get there from pretty much anywhere in the East Coast, I think, including West Virginia. So hopefully we got a good crowd, and they're there to cheer some.
Game like this, then, does this come down to imposing will, you with your tempo, speed against their strength, almost like Sonny Liston against Cassius Clay when they first met, and everybody.
Who are they?
Yeah, well, you
come on.
Clay. You remember when they first met, and everybody said that Clay could never beat him because he was so big and strong.
It's a little before my time, Bob, but I do understand your point, and it is going to be interesting. I think it's a very interesting matchup for a lot of reasons. There's a definite schematical difference on both sides of the ball for both teams. We sit there and talk, but you look at the back wall right there, we talk about toughness all the time. I think we're a fairly physical outfit. We do a good job of stopping the run. We're averaging 5 yards a carry in the run game. We did that against Missouri, who that hadn't happened to them in quite some time. Now, BYU does a good job of stopping the run, but if you think for a minute we don't think we can line up and run the ball against anybody in the country, then you're mistaken. So they're probably saying, you know what, we got guys that can run as well. They got a corner that's long that looks like Worley looked last year, 6'2", and can flip his hips and go. So they got guys as well. So, how much of it is it physical strength versus speed? It'd be fun to kind of sort that out, but I think we would. I think we'd be selling ourselves short, both teams, if we didn't think we could counter with some of the same stuff.
Do they bring your safeties up a lot to help in the run?
What's that?
Do they bring your safeties up a lot to help in the run?
They're like anybody else. They do it if they have to. They do it. They're the difference in what we've seen the last couple of weeks and what they do is they'll probably pressure more to stop the run, where the other teams wouldn't pressure in the run game. They'd screw safeties down. So they're a little different with that, but that's the coaching aspect of it, the coaching angle of it. Identify their tendencies and then see what they're doing in game and make adjustments.
As far as what you guys have been doing offensively, how has Coach Wickline kind of improved things, or what has he done differently this year that you guys haven't done in the past?
I haven't changed a whole lot. Just has helped us. So we've been going on 6 years of pretty much the same offense. So we got a lot of guys like Tyler and Matteo and Pankey and Shelton and DeKeel, Shell, Eli, a lot of guys that have been in this offense for quite some time. So got guys that understand what we're trying to get done. It's more about with Coach Wickline and Coach Carrier and the other coaches is just far as just getting us better with the technique aspect of it. Now, there's some in-game stuff that I can see a difference with the suggestions that I'm getting. Coach Wickline being upstairs, being an extra set of eyes, identifying what the defense is doing and knowing our offense well enough to make suggestions. This is what we need to do to counter it. That's been good. Coach Carrier called that we slipped that screen to Kennedy. I mean, he saw that was open and he said, "Coach, you need to slip that guy after the screen." So having guys that have been in this offense and have a good feel for what we have and how we can counter some of the things we're doing has been good.
Dan, it seems like every week there's a question about like a seemingly minor detail, like return to miss field goal or defending a Hail Mary or having your guys cross the goal line with the ball. How much time can you afford to give to those little details? Because they might matter. And how hard is it to manage them?
It's impossible to manage it. I mean, that's you put your guys in position and you expect them to, through coaching, through reps, through practice, go out there and do the right thing. From turnover perspective, from a penalty perspective, that sort of thing. I mean, coaches coach and kids play, so it's all stuff that you practice, and hopefully you do enough of it to where they'll go out there and do the right thing, and that kind of stuff doesn't happen after you've practiced it.
Be careful not to get too minor, too detailed.
Well, you got 20 hours a week, and only about 6 hours can be out there on the field. So, a lot of your technique stuff has to come in the off season, has to come in the spring, has to come in camp. When you're preparing for a team, it's 98% scheme, staying in shape and scheming it. And these 20 hours a week are meetings and their weights and their walkthroughs and their practice and their games. So, how much time can you afford to do all that stuff? The technique has always been more of a high priority in the off season, and the scheme is always more of a high priority in season.
Dana, open week, just injuries and update on Xavier Pegues. Where is he? I know you said late October, but is that about the
Yeah, he's still a ways away. The long-term guys are still long-term guys, and we'll have everybody else available. Fresh, healthy, excited, ready to go.
Probably good for Skylar too.
Yeah. He took last week off and continued to heal up and came back and was ripping it around pretty good on Sunday. So he'll be full go here moving forward.
3 weeks into the season, we already hear the death knell of the Big 12. Is this game going to be overanalyzed, too analyzed by people? I mean, are the media heads getting to be too just influential in what we're thinking about the game of football anymore? Overthinking?
Well, don't you do that every week?
I mean, but
my experience is y'all do it every week. I think it's a very interesting matchup. I mean, I've said this already 2 times this week, I think. But what's wrong with the Big 12? I think that was part of your question. Big 12's scheduling other Power 5 schools. Looks to me like the schedule is what everybody wanted. Now, we'd like to win a few more of these games. I think everybody would definitely say that. There's all these high profile games with Arizona State and Cal and Houston and Ohio State, and who else has there been? Arkansas, Notre Dame. I mean, there's been a lot of good football right there, right? That's what everybody wanted. Need to win a few more of them, but at least pretty much everybody's scheduling them. So if Power 5 schools play Power 5 schools, there's going to be a Power 5 school lose every time they play. So, I think it's probably still a little bit too early. I think there's a lot of good players in the Big 12. There's a lot of good coaches in the Big 12. There's a lot of good teams in the Big 12. You can judge us in the end when you see where everybody ends up and who they play in bowl games. I think that's the final measuring stick. I think you'd be a fool to try to justify it at this point, my opinion.